Welcome to the Manx Theatre Podcast.
Come on to the theatre.
Hello and welcome back to episode 35 of the Manx Theatre Podcast with me, Neil Callin. Thank you to everyone who's listened to our previous episodes, and especially those who've been with us for the last 3 years, as on the 15th of May 2022, the podcast celebrated its 3rd birthday. If you're brand new to the podcast, welcome along and thanks for joining us. In this podcast, we like to try and keep you up to date with what's going on in theatre on the Isle of Man and chat to the cast and creatives of upcoming shows to find out a little bit more about the shows and the people behind them.
Coming up on this week's podcast.
I chat to Toby Smith and Kim Quine from The Service Players ahead of their production of the comedy thriller Dick Barton, Special Agent. You can listen to all of our previous episodes through all the usual podcast outlets and at manxradio.com/podcasts. Whilst you're there, make sure to subscribe, give us a like and rate. As mentioned in the last episode, the Manx Operatic Society were close to announcing their production team for the 2023 production of the musical comedy Whodunit, Curtains. Well, now they've announced that Steve Dakin, most recently involved in the Douglas Choral Union's choir for Hunchback of Notre Dame, will be taking the reins as musical director. They've also announced that they've secured the services of professional director-choreographer Daniel Maguire, who has never worked on the Isle of Man before. Daniel brings a wealth of experience, having trained at the Billy Barry Stage School in Dublin and later at the Academy of Musical Theatre in Wales. He's an experienced theatre director, choreographer and producer with a special interest in musical theatre. His theatre credits include A Slice of Saturday Night, Shout, The Mod Musical, Guys and Dolls, Sweet Charity, Friends, the musical parody, Stepping Out and many, many more. We'll be sure to see if we can catch up with him when he's over for blocking visits with Ops. The Actor of Man 2022 competition took place on the weekend of the 7th and 8th of May. The Saturday saw a workshop for the 13 to 9-year-old to work through the short scripts and learn and develop new skills. The Sunday saw a further opportunity to workshop through the previous day's pieces, and then in the afternoon the performances were judged by the panel, which was made up of professional actor and former winner of Young Actor of Man, Tony Eccles, Ben Heath from the Isle of Man Arts Council, and UK adjudicator Sue Doherty, who also ran the workshops. The winner, in the end, selected from a shortlist of 10 young actors, was 15-year-old Ori Wilson, who impressed the judges with his mature and strong performance. As winner, Ori received the Young Actor of Man trophy, which he'll retain for 12 months, and a bursary to the value of £500 to be used towards a drama-related activity of his choice. As runner-up, Abigail Harrison received £100. A little news from further afield about our successful Manxies. Ben Carron, currently performing in Heathers the Musical at the Other Place Theatre off London's West End, and his first cover for the lead role of Jason J.D. Dean. He's been quite regularly performing as J.D. and has been confirmed as part of the cast of the performances that were recorded in a similar style to Hamilton, which was done between the 3rd and the 9th of May and will be broadcast at a later date. Damien Neal, who's currently on tour in the UK with Les Mis, has announced that he'll be the second cover for Javert until the end of the run. Hopefully he'll get a few chances to perform the role. And following the enormous popularity of Heartstopper on Netflix, Joe Locke has announced that it has been renewed for a 2nd and a 3rd series, so that's bound to keep him busy for a while. It's also been announced that both Joe and Heartstopper have been nominated in several categories in the upcoming National Television Awards, with Joe being nominated in the category for the Rising Star. So make sure you get online and get a vote in. Make sure you keep up to date with what's going on between episodes by following Manx Theatre Podcast on both Facebook and Instagram, and at Manx Theatre Pod on Twitter. Okay, down to business. I'm joined on the podcast today by Toby Smith and Kim Quine from The Service Players ahead of their performances in Dick Barton, Special Agent. Toby, Kim, welcome to the Manx Theatre Podcast.
Thanks, Neil.
Hello, Neil.
It's great to have you along. It's been a long time, actually.
It has. Back into 2019, early 2020, we seemed to spend a lot of time together.
Yes.
But it's been a while.
Yes, it has been a while. Oh, that was it was the WAC Festival, wasn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. I loved that play. It was great fun.
It was.
So, you're here today to talk to us about Dick Barton. Tell me all about it.
Well, what is there to say? Directed again by Alex Brindley, who always brings in some great crowds and gives us some great plays to perform at the Gaiety. A little bit different this time, though, because normally he does his sitcoms. No.
Yeah, TV adaptations.
Yeah. Whereas this time it's a stage version of a radio play.
Yeah, a radio adaptation for stage.
Oh.
So, yeah, you can basically expect a lot of innuendo and silliness, which are Toby's favourite things.
Well, yes, it goes without
They're
saying.
up there. Definitely up.
Yeah, he gets to wear tux while being silly and inappropriate.
And a trench coat. You know, what more does a matter? And I get to have a gun.
Oh.
Not a real one. We don't let him have a real one.
What?
Thank goodness for that.
I've been missold the role.
So this actually is a proper script then that's done as a stage play rather than, because I know with some of the previous ones that Alex has done, they've been sort of a couple of episodes that have been, I don't want to say cobbled together, but they've been put together then to make an episode that he's been able to do then with permission from the original rights holders. But this is a proper stage version of the radio plays.
I believe it has actually been on in the Isle of Man before, but
right.
many moons ago, and I think Alex not only went, but I think went possibly every night that it was on.
Quite possibly.
So
He very much enjoyed it.
So this is something that's close to Alex's heart then.
Absolutely.
Very much a passion project.
I think it's one he has wanted to do for a while, but hasn't quite fit. And I think he's just thought it's been a while since he's done anything at the Gaiety, been a while since it's directed. Why not go for it?
Yeah, he's been talking about it with us for a couple of years, and I think there's been a little bit of resistance about it. But we decided to get hold of a script, and having read it through once, I just thought this is absolutely hilarious, and we need to have a crack at it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not one for the faint-hearted. If you're easily offended, might not be the one for you.
It's a little old-fashioned.
I was going to say it's a little old-fashioned.
Yeah, in some of its
Yeah.
jokes. But that said, we performed it in front of some cast members the other night for the first time, and they found it extremely funny.
Excellent.
And they weren't paid.
So you're actually playing Dick Barton himself, yeah?
I am, yes. I don't want to put too many spoilers in there, but yes, part of what I'm doing is playing Dick Barton.
But not for very long.
Bum, bum, bum.
Absolutely. The
Oh.
tension is palpable.
For a play called Dick Barton Special Agent, Dick Barton doesn't actually appear for very long at all.
No.
It's quite confusing.
Yeah. But it's all about that whole kind of spy sleuth, taking on the Germans, taking on the Russians, but with some very silly twists.
Bit of a James Bond, Impress File.
It's a little bit like that. Yes, he's not perhaps the sharpest tool in the drawer. I mean, typecasting there. But yeah, no, it's good fun. More tongue-in-cheek than James Bond, definitely.
Right.
Yes, a kind of spoof James Bond.
Precisely, well put, Kim.
Right. So Kim, you are assistant director,
Yes.
but you're also in it as well.
Yeah, just make it interesting.
Just make it interesting, yeah.
Yeah, not enough to do, clearly.
So what's your character then, Kim?
My character is Daphne Fritters. She is the daughter of Sir Stan Fritters, the Minister for Rationing, who how much are we going to say?
Well, I think that I don't think you're revealing too much there. I
Okay.
think it's okay.
Well,
Or telling them too much.
It is a Sunday. It's nice to see she's covered up a little bit.
Yeah.
yeah. So he's the man who knows the whereabouts of Britain's tea supplies, and as we all know, the British, if you're going to get in there and defeat them, the tea is the way to go.
Indeed.
Everyone in Britain loves tea, clearly. So she's very concerned that her father, and he's basically the femme fatale.
Right.
No.
Yes, I think that's true. I think that's fair.
She's kind of the damsel in distress who needs to go and find a big strong man to come and help her to save the day.
And who else have we got in the cast then? Who's playing the other sort of...
Well, we have the wonderful Geoffrey Pugh, who is picking up the reins of the villain this time.
And my goodness, he is doing it well.
He's absolutely superb. He's playing Baron Scarheart, who's a dastardly villain.
Baron Scarheart.
Yeah. And he's I don't know if you've ever seen those YouTube videos where they have a ball that rolls down a gutter into a bowling ball that then goes onto the floor and knocks over some dominoes. And he likes that kind of stuff. There's some good monologues in there that are very involved. Wow. And he's really, really been very excited about having the opportunity to learn those.
Yes. We don't feel Jeff has enough lines. We might add some in between now and then.
Yeah, I think he might have as many lines as everybody else put together.
Yes.
Excellent.
It's
a nice bit of subtle character naming as well, because there's nothing like pointing out the villain, like calling him something like Scarheart.
Yeah. Although he doesn't actually have a heart, because he was raised by wolves.
True story.
Okay. Interesting.
I'm not quite sure why that would mean that you don't have a heart, because I think anatomically that's probably pretty important. And I think wolves. I think wolves probably have hearts.
I mean, they're a pack animal. They look after each other.
Exactly. And perhaps we're talking about a metaphorical heart here.
He never learned to love.
Except for evil itself, which he loved.
Or Ephil itself.
Evil.
Ephil. All will become clear.
Then we also have the wonderful Lisa Smith in the main actress role as Marta Hartburn, completely showing us all up by learning all of her many, many, many lines way in advance before most of us had even read the script.
Yes, it's a little bit of a showy-offy approach, I think, really, to turn up at the first rehearsal knowing all of your lines. It's a bit teacher's petty.
It's fairly standard for Lisa, though. Although to be fair, this time she didn't actually write them.
No. And that's always cheating a bit as well, isn't it? Oh, yeah, learning the lines that you wrote. It's...
That's not what it says in the script. It was just a rewrite.
Yeah, exactly. You can get away with that, can't you? But yeah, she is, as she always is, superb. And there are a few scenes that she's in full seductress mode. Ooh. So you might have to hold on to your seats for that bit.
She is fantastic, and again, she's on the villain side and just plays it wonderfully. Really, really believable watching her already, and we're only kind of halfway through.
So she's the femme fatale.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think she's more kind of the. I think she's almost as equal bad guy to Scarheart, really.
Yeah, I think she calls the shots.
Yeah,
Scarheart
I think she's the brains, he's the brawn.
Right.
Well, in the whole ethos of the play being a little bit, basically the man thinks he's the one who's in control of it all, and really it's the woman calling the shots.
But then, as also typically happens in life, she's a creature of her emotions, and when she falls in love.
It all starts going a bit wrong.
Her whole raison d'etre starts to crumble.
Right. So is that because she comes across Dick Barton?
Well, it would have to be somebody spectacular.
Well,
Poor Lisa.
So the whole story of the play then it revolves around this stolen tea, is it?
Yeah, I think tea. It's a play about tea
And innuendo.
And it's not just a play; it's a play with songs.
It is a play with songs.
It's a play with many, many songs.
I mean, we did have a recent success with a play with songs, because Wind in the Willows, of course,
yes,
had 5 or 6 songs in it, and was a really nice opportunity to try something a little bit different, to work with David Callin, who's hugely supportive and brilliant. And yeah, I think we're just kind of bouncing on from that to something that is, well, we were speaking about this beforehand, 75% dialogue, 25% songs, maybe.
I think you're underplaying the songs.
Okay.
Maybe 60-40.
So it is bordering on kind of old school musical theatre then in that case, really, because some of the old sort of Gilbert and Sullivan's and things like that would have about 10 or 12 songs within the show.
And that's ballpark how many we've got. So. Yeah.
And I think the songs really in this play are vital to some of the comedy element. They really drive home, and they also really move the story along as well. So there's a couple of scenes that are just a song, and it just explains to you what's happening and what's going through that character's head and what they're going to do next, and then it moves on. So they're really important.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think sometimes when you go to watch a straight musical, and some of the standards that are in there are, perhaps that cast member's kind of time to shine, if you like, to deliver this song that they will have heard, hundreds of times, and the songs aren't really like that. There's a lot, as Kim says, there's a lot more humour in them. They are well-known standards that everybody will know the tune to.
Yeah, for example, we've got,
we've got this really well-known opera. Which opera piece of music is it, Kim?
I don't know. I'm not doing it anymore.
So it's got Nessun Dorma, right? Yes, but we also, it's quite a broad brush approach, because we also have Rule Britannia. So. They're not really songs to perhaps for somebody to explore their range. They're more songs to kind of engage the audience, get them foot tapping rather than it being taken too seriously.
So it's stress and trauma.
Marvellous.
So there's lots of bits like that, really, that are well-known songs. You'll think, oh, I know this one. Oh, but not this version.
Yes.
Never heard this before. And so it's nice because I think it'll bring the audience in. They'll recognise it, but it's got a real comedy twist.
Yeah, toe tappers.
Marvellous. So is this a bit of a kind of a terribly British BBC kind of a production with it, or is it?
I think that's fair to say because, of course, this came from, I believe, Listen with Mother.
Right.
Originally. So, yeah, sort of people of my parents' generation remember this very fondly as being something that they would listen to when they were growing up. So, yes, that was them tuned into the BBC.
And we do have the BBC announcer, who again moves the story on between start and end of most scenes, played by the wonderful Chris Kane. So,
Marvellous.
Along with some other roles as well. There's quite a lot of doubling up of roles.
Tripling.
Some people are quadrupling up.
Wow.
But some of them
those
are actually
people-
written in that way.
Yes.
So it is supposed to be the same person playing different
Yes,
characters.
it is written like that.
Well, I guess that's easier for a radio play for one person to play 3-4 different characters, isn't it? They're just with adopting a slightly different voice and.
It is, yes, but perhaps a little more challenging on stage.
Yes.
But it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
Moustache,
if it isn't,
fake beard, hat.
It's like you're doing costume for us, Neil.
No, I'm not.
Oh,
I'm busy, I'm afraid. So
that's disappointing. We have the wonderful Jude Fullerton,
Of course.
who is an utter angel.
She really is.
and she's on everything at the
oh
moment
my,
as well.
she just saves everybody's bacon continually, doesn't she? She's an absolute star. We'd be
and
lost
she is
without her.
not afraid to find even the most risque things for you. She's been doing some good sourcing.
Yes, there is one slightly risque costume that required us researching and visiting some specialist websites.
And Jude was a trooper.
She was an absolute trooper. It turned out the cast member who's going to have to wear that outfit actually probably already had all that stuff at home anyway.
Just Jeff we're talking about, yeah.
It's not actually
No.
Jeff.
No,
It's
not Jeff,
actually,
all right.
It's actually somebody who works at Manx Radio.
Not me. Don't look at me.
It's just the way that Kim suddenly raised her eyebrows. I thought, hello.
Sorry. No.
Oh, is it Alex?
It is unfortunately not Alex.
Oh.
Don't keep going through them.
Yeah, we'll get there because there aren't that many.
Yeah. So anyway, you two guys, I mean, you've been involved for quite a long time. You two. How did you both get started in theatre in
Kim?
general?
I started age 2.5 in dance shows and went on from there. Just loved musicals growing up, so I would be found every school holiday at my grandparents' house in France watching either Mary Poppins or The Sound of Music on repeat for 5 weeks.
My daughter went through that phase as well.
5 weeks is a long time, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. I
But
mean,
that felt like a long time.
yeah.
For everyone else, it definitely felt like a long
Yeah.
time.
Step in Time was Amber's favourite song at the time, and we always had to go straight to that. Fortunately, we had it recorded on Sky Plus, and I knew that 108 minutes was the intro to Step in Time. So
Did you ever get it a bit wrong? You know, just so you didn't have to listen to that immediately? Maybe it's 105.
just switch it on and leave the room. That's the easiest way.
Yes.
So was that before you moved to the island then?
Yeah, long before. So I've been here 5 and a bit years now.
Right.
So before then, I'd not really done much since high school. I'd kind of moved around, gone to university, got a job, done all the getting married and
Yeah.
having kids thing. And then when we moved back here, I felt it was a good opportunity to think about what it was I wanted to do in life. What I used to do for work and everything in the UK was completely different to what I could do here. So I just saw it as an opportunity to kind of sit back and think, actually, what do I want to be doing here?
Yeah.
So I'm not just, mum to these children and that's how people know me.
Yeah.
What do I want to do? And so I spoke with Beth Espy and got involved with the service players, just went along to a Dad's Army rehearsal back then we were doing that. And that was that. I just thought it was somewhere where people knew me as Kim, not someone's mum.
Toby, how about yourself?
Well, I did the usual of all the school plays through primary school and enjoying and loving all of that. And then that was a time for me where singing was extremely important, and I used to, as a young treble, compete in the guild a lot, and that kind of springboarded me when I went to secondary school into catching the eye of Mike Hoy. And he very quickly involved me in some of the senior productions that they did at the school.
You were at King Bill's, weren't you?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
So I went from there straight into the chapel choir, and then from there, when you can sing and plausibly move around a stage, you get picked up for bits and pieces. So he picked me up for a few of the senior plays, and then junior plays within school, and then I was very fortunate to be introduced to Dottie Lowy, who involved me in some of the productions that she did when I was a teenager. So that up to kind of university age, and then at university I joined a band and had sort of 3 years of doing that. And then when I came back to the island after I graduated, I then was involved in another band, a party band, for about 10 years.
Wasn't that all in for all the people that you worked with?
That's right, yeah. It was a bunch of accountants. It was a really exciting bunch of people. We had such a laugh doing that. It was such a ball, and we used to get to do black tie do's and weddings and get paid to play a gig. Just it's just unheard of to just turn up with a bunch of mates and play 20 songs and go and sing twice a week in a sports hall or whatever it was to practice. I absolutely loved it. And then children came along, and so I kind of knocked that on the head, really. And I had a kind of couple of years of focusing on just raising 2 babies. And then again, Mike Hoy, opportunity came knocking. I met Mike Hoy at one of the outdoor Shakespeares, and he said, "Oh, you back on the Isle of Man?" I said, "Well, yes, I have been back for about 14 years."
Just a little while.
And he said, "Oh, I've got something that I think you might be interested in." And yes, straight into the service players for Arcadia. And yeah, I've had the good fortune to do plays with them, some plays with Lisa and Chrissy, and with Dave Dawson, and a few little radio bits with Alex Duncan. And yeah, it's been just a really nice thing to get back into, and I think it's reminded me that I actually always did prefer the drama over the singing. I think the singing is perhaps a little bit less nerve-wracking for me.
Yeah.
But no, drama's far more interesting to me these days.
And you were most recently in Much Ado About Nothing as well, weren't you?
I was indeed, another David Dawson production, which was absolutely wonderful production, where they kind of pulled together people from all different kind of strands of Manx theatre and different backgrounds, and it was a really amazing experience. Got to work with some people who I've seen before, admired from afar, and just very fortunate to be allowed to be part of that, which was brilliant.
Fantastic.
I must say that coming to the island, that was one of the things, because I didn't really know anything about the Isle of Man before I moved here, but one of the things that people always told me was that the quality of amateur dramatics and musicals that put on the island was fantastic. And I went in thinking, okay, I'm sure it's fine, and actually I've been from the start completely blown away.
Yeah.
The quality over here is absolutely exceptional.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, we are very fortunate for the facilities that we have, and the number of groups that we have as well. There are so many different groups doing so many different things, and I'm really glad that Parados have set up to do Shakespeare as well, because that's an itch I've been wanting to scratch for a very long time, but there's never been an opportunity to be able to do that. But now there is.
Yeah, and I think they are planning to do another Shakespeare next year as well.
I think it's Two Gentlemen of Our Own, I think, isn't it?
I think you might be right.
They've already published that, so that's good. Good to see. So we'll see what happens this time next year with that. That'll be great.
It was something, as a committee of the service players, we'd been talking about. There hasn't been a Shakespeare for a while, so it is really nice to see.
Yeah, because the last Shakespeare that had been done by an on-island company that I was aware of was A Winter's Tale, which was an all-island play, and that was like
20 years
2000,
ago?
2001, something like that.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
That was a very long time ago.
And they had the touring company, didn't they? They used to come to Peel Castle and do them there. And I don't know if you ever had the opportunity to go and see it, but they did a production of Hound and the Baskervilles within Peel Castle. And we've talked again for a long time about trying to do something like that using different venues. Certainly in the one act, the one act festival is usually either in Castletown or Port Erin. But in the run up to that, we were fortunate enough to do the play at Macclesfield, and you know, as the service players do try to get around other venues in the Isle of Man and
take it on tour a little.
It comes with its own challenges. But it's a lot of fun. I mean, you know yourself. We performed at Macclesfield together, didn't we? And
it's not a very big stage, is it?
No, it's not enormous. Not once you've got this big sofa on it.
Yes,
And it's high up.
yeah,
It's really high.
Yeah.
and then you're trying to get changed quickly in the kitchen.
Yes, there's but I mean, what a phenomenal group of people!
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
they turn out in their droves. They do amazing cakes,
Ooh.
and they appreciate the fact that you're coming to do it for them. So
Yeah, they're so supportive. I
Absolutely
actually
brilliant.
really love going up to Mackle to do the
Yeah.
pre-one act.
absolutely,
And then last year as well, then, or earlier this year rather, you were both. No, it was last year, wasn't it? Back end of last year, you had a bit of a little mini tour of the Christmas little plays that you had, and was that Port St Mary as well? You did that?
yeah. So we'd usually do 2 plays a year. We usually do one about the end of June and early July, and then we do one sort of October, November time. And this we decided was an opportunity to do some Christmas plays because it's just something that we haven't done. And as you said,
Yeah.
we toured Port Erin, Port St Mary, and
Macclesfield?
So,
I was on a short maternity leave from the service players at the time, but got dragged in again somehow.
capable people, you see.
Yes. And then one of those then was done again in the One Act Festival, wasn't it?
Yeah, and we did really well there. Lisa got Best Actress, and we got some good nominations. And it was a really and again the One Act thing is a thing that we are very keen to support.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a great little competition, and
It is.
it's a shame there's not quite as many people coming to watch it as.
It is a shame, and it's kind of unique in the challenge that it presents, because even when we're doing something like Dick Barton, you know, you've got 4 shows, 3 shows. You know, you've got lots of time in technical. You've got lots of time in the theatre, lots of time to get things right. You know, One Act, it's one crack of the whip.
Yeah.
You have 45 minutes tech time and no time to actually practice it in the space.
Yeah.
And then away you go. You know, that's a really big challenge. Especially, I always find that particularly a big challenge when we're doing something that Lisa has written.
Yes.
Because I always think, oh gosh, you know, not only are we only going to get one crack at this, but you know, this is something that Lisa's written. We've got to try really hard to make sure that we get this right on the night,
Yes.
because there's no second chance.
Yeah.
So,
And obviously getting the feedback from the adjudicator, so you really don't want to be messing that up.
No, absolutely, and you know, all that stuff that, you know, in a production like Dick, you know, you've got the opportunity to say, right, you know, where are the laughs going to be in this, and how the audience going to react, and you know, you have the opportunity during a run to
Yes.
be able to modify your performance slightly. And there's none of that in the One Act. You're just in at the deep end, and away you go.
And I guess also people coming to see a play at the Gaiety, you know, 9 times out of 10 have got an idea of what they're going to. They're already a fan of it,
Yeah.
or they know of it. They know what they're expecting. Whereas at the One Act, you go and you could have any 3 plays
Oh, yeah.
on one night. It could be about anything, something you're really not into. So, yeah, not knowing if the audience are actually going
You're
to
listening to the Manx
at all.
Theatre podcast
Yeah.
with
You know, they
Neil
might
Callin.
absolutely hate it, but, you know, they don't know what they're going to.
But they never do.
I guess there's probably shows that have had varying budgets over the years then. And I know something that's something that the service players don't have a huge amount of money with their productions, but so costumes sometimes have been of a varying degree. Sometimes supplied by yourself.
I don't know what you're trying to say then, Neil.
What I'm trying to get around to is, I'm sure you've worn lots of different costumes over the years.
Oh, I see.
So what would you say would
I
be
see.
the best costumes that you've worn, and possibly the worst costumes that you've worn?
Kim?
Best costumes, probably that One Act. I just got to wear 4 nice dresses.
Oh, yes.
It was great. Just change between good dresses. So, you know, that's always a plus. Worst was doing dancing shows, and over the years I got to be Tinky Winky the Teletubby. Not even the good one.
Ah.
The worst Teletubby, let's be honest.
You got a handbag, though.
A gargoyle in a Hunchback of Notre Dame style thing. And I was the Sugar Plum Fairy, so that was quite nice when I was about 5. Oh, and a dancing bear.
Oh, right.
A bear costume. Full bear costume with a tutu.
Lovely.
I know, right?
More bears should have tutus, I think.
We can arrange this for the next play for you, Toby.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Toby, what are you then? How about costumes?
I think my favourite costume would probably be my Prince John costume in Marion.
Yeah.
And I would have to admit that my crown, which was beautifully made for me by Jude, resides in my dressing room at home.
Sounds awfully posh, isn't it, in his dressing room?
Do you just get up in the morning?
Don't you have a dressing room?
Just get up in the morning, put it on, have
Well,
a
I
look
sleep
in the
in
mirror,
it. I sleep in it mostly, but yes.
Go
give yourself a
downstairs,
little pep talk for the day.
Absolutely.
eat his Rice Krispies.
Yeah. And my worst was a Dottie Lowy production that we did at the Aaron Art Centre that was a kind of a combination of songs and bits of narrative about the seasons, and I had to sing a song which I could still hear in my head. I'm still deeply affected by it, and I was dressed as some kind of huge lobster. So it was lots of sort of shiny materials. Thank you, Kim.
Are there photos?
I think all photos were destroyed.
Such a shame.
Just because some people had reportedly gone blind.
This is probably the best thing about our generation, having done all these stupid things before Facebook was around.
Oh, it's an absolute joy, isn't it? Absolute joy. And I will make sure that when Morgan and Charlotte have those costumes, they'll be recorded for perpetuity.
Well documented.
Absolutely.
Yes. Brilliant. Okay, so what would you say would be the favourite role that you've played over the years then?
I remember one summer doing kind of a 2-week summer school thing where in the UK where you cram it all in and then perform to the parents at the end of the week, and it's obviously a very good show.
Yeah.
Very, very good. So I'd have been about 12, 13, and I got to play Grace Farrell in Annie.
Ooh.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it. Again, a very pretty dress. It's nice.
Seems to be a lot about the dresses for you, Kim.
There's a common theme, isn't there?
I get pretty dresses in this one as well.
Yeah.
I'm doing well.
Marvellous. Toby?
When I was 18 in my final year of secondary school, we did Grease. And I had the opportunity to play Danny Zuko.
No way.
So I got to. I seem to remember most of the interest in the play was people after the show wondering if the sideburns were real or not. I seem to remember quite a lot of people pulling away at my sideburns and saying, "Are they real?" And they were. So that was not particularly pleasant. But I think as a young man, the opportunity to play Danny Zuko in Grease is one that you perhaps shouldn't pass up. So,
and to actually be the correct age to play Danny Zuko.
I
as
know,
well.
yeah, weirdly, yes. The lady who played Rizzo was, I think, 17 at the time of the production, which is obviously 50% of the correct age to play that role.
Unlike the actual Betty Rizzo from the film, who was 32.
Exactly. Exactly my point. I'm not sure if it's my favourite role, but I think at the time, for me, it was
a pinnacle.
Absolutely, yeah. I find these days those kind of lead roles, they're not perhaps quite as interesting as some of the more character-based roles.
Yeah.
Which is where I would generally prefer to learn less lines and roll my sleeves up and get stuck into. Yeah,
I mean it's something I've said for the. I mean I've never been the kind of person that's been a romantic lead. I've always been the character parts, and I've always preferred them because they're much more interesting. They're a bit more.
You're going to have more fun, aren't you?
Yeah. There's always a bit more there to get your teeth into and play around with.
Yeah.
So much more fun.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a question then. This is one of my favourites, but it's one of the ones that sometimes is quite an easy one, sometimes can be quite a difficult one. Certainly more so for the gents. This gents seem to have a bit more problem with this one, but I'm interested to see which way this one's going to go with you, Toby. This is our gender swap question. If you could play a part of the opposite gender, what would it be?
That is very difficult, isn't it? Mm. I think you're going to have to ask him that one and come back to me.
I mean, quite often, I guess historically there have been so many more big male lead roles that it's far easier for the ladies to pick a big lead role. But I think, although with the more modern things these days, there's a lot more big female lead roles and roles that are women that lead a show or are a largely female cast. I mean, like you look at the likes of Six and things like that, and you've got Wicked and they've got lots of strong female leads in there now. So maybe I'll give you a few hints. And The Waitress.
Yeah, I think if I was to play a female role, it would have to be a very character-driven role again. It would have to be something quite juicy, preferably somebody really evil. So maybe Marta Hartburn.
Right.
Yeah, from Dick Barton.
From Dick Barton, yeah.
Or like a Velma Kelly from Chicago.
Ooh.
Do you know, there are certain plays that I like,
That is not
and
one
there
of
are
them.
other plays that I don't like, and I don't like. It's controversial, but I don't like. I don't like Chicago. I don't like Les Miserables. Can I say that? Can I say that on here? I don't like Wicked.
Ooh.
And I have, I promise you, I have tried really hard, but no, I don't like any of those.
See, I'm like that as well. I mean, there are some that I know people that love some of these shows, and there are the stuff that I really just cannot stand. And Neil King would probably hate me for saying this, but Annie is a show that I just despise.
It's not one of my favourites.
No. If it was the last show going, I would maybe, but it's not for me.
It's got to have a strong. It's got to have a
Yeah.
strong narrative, I think,
Strong
doesn't it?
narrative, yeah.
For me, it's got to have a strong narrative, and I prefer plays that are perhaps a bit more uplifting, and not about teen angst. So Wicked's out for me.
Mm-hmm.
Les Mis is just miserable, hence the name. And Chicago, is it a play? Is it a play? Is it just some songs?
Sorry, I like Chicago. Chicago's one of my favourites. Sorry, but so we'll agree to disagree. on
Okay.
that one. Okay, Kim, have you got a role? Since Toby cannot decide.
Do you know what? When I was looking at this, look what I wrote down. Danny DeVito from
Oh,
Grease.
look at
It is
that.
the one. When you're growing up, it is the role.
But there's no pretty dress. But you could
There
rock
is
a
not.
quiff. You could rock a
I
quiff.
think so.
Can I just say Danny Zuko?
Oh, yes.
Of course.
No,
Not
that's
Danny
a different
DeVito.
person.
Danny
It's a different
Zuko.
person. Because I only wrote Danny.
You see.
And then I wrote Captain Von Trapp.
I would
Oh.
like to see Danny DeVito being Danny Zuko.
That would be an
Why
interesting.
not?
That would be an interesting.
I
version.
would pay to see that.
Well,
Yeah,
you never know. Maybe he will listen.
maybe.
Maybe.
This will be what inspires him.
I think this is one of the most irreverent podcasts I think that we've done
Excellent.
in the last 3 years. So
Excellent.
Well done, Toby.
You're welcome.
Okay, so back in 2020, just we're coming out of the end of our first lockdown, and at one point we'll get to stop talking about lockdown, which will be great. So just as we came out of that, we created a Spotify playlist of what we felt would be the ultimate musical theatre playlist. Neil King and I, we both put 10 songs in ourselves to get the playlist going, because no one wants to listen to a playlist with only 2 songs.
You just wanted to pick all the best songs for yourself.
Well, there is that too. Yeah,
There is that.
I couldn't just settle on 1 or 2. I had to go for 10. It made more sense to me.
It's your show. You make the rules.
Exactly. So we picked out 10 songs, and these were songs that either we've performed, they're from shows that we've been in, or something that means a lot to us. So we got that list set up and running, and then every guest that we've had on the podcast since then has chosen a song of their own and added it onto the playlist. Some of the selections that we've got in there are Joe Hillard chose Me in the Sky from Come From Away, Perry O'D chose Being Alive from Company, Charlie Williams chose From Now On from The Greatest Showman, and Jeff Pugh chose You'll Be Back from Hamilton. So, Toby, Kim, what are your additions to the Spotify playlist and why?
I feel this is a lot of pressure.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I actually don't feel like it's a lot of pressure, because I have. As soon as I saw that question, I knew what my answer was going to be. But ladies first. Always ladies first.
Always ladies first.
Well, I'm just looking at the list. I nearly chose one from Miss Saigon, but I can see somebody did that. And then I started thinking, I think my love of musicals came from my granddad. One of his favourites was West Side Story, so I was thinking about that. But I think the one I would have to go for, that just now, I work at hospice during the week when I'm not on maternity, and you walk in and there's a amazing man who volunteers and works on reception, and he always has the Phantom of the Opera soundtrack going, and every time I walk in and Think of Me is playing, it just brings me right back to my granddad. We played it at his funeral 10 years ago, and I just think it just has all the feels for me.
All the feels.
All the feels.
Marvellous.
Excellent choice.
So that's your choice then, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, Toby?
So, I mean, I previously alluded to the fact that I perhaps don't have mainstream tastes when it comes to musicals.
That's really
and
surprising for
I
you.
know it is, isn't it? It is strange that. Now, I absolutely adore a musical that nobody else loves. It's a Bubel and Schoenberg, and it's called Martin Guerre. Now, Martin Guerre was probably a bit of an obsession for me. I was at university in London, and we were able to get these NUS passes to get into shows at the last minute for £10. And I remember it opening, I think it was late 1996, maybe early 1997 that it opened. And so off I went off into Soho to see, well, what's this all about? And I absolutely loved it.
I think you're in the minority because it wasn't very successful.
No,
was it?
It wasn't, and it was thoroughly reworked. In fact, they took a really bold step of not only just reworking the structure of the play, but new songs, changing the perspective, and what they actually did was they were performing the show in the evenings and the matinees, and in between they were rehearsing the new material.
Oh wow!
I must have been to see that show 10 times during its short run in the West End. I absolutely loved it. Ian Glenn was the lead role, who obviously has gone on to have a huge Hollywood career. And I remember the first time I saw him in something on TV, and I thought, I recognise this chap's face from somewhere. And then it just took me all the way back.
He was in Game of Thrones as well, wasn't he?
He was in Game of Thrones. Sir
Jorah.
Yes, I think you're right. Yeah, Mormont.
Yes.
So there's one song in particular in that, which is called Working on the Land, which is the kind of opening number from that production, which gets you... I don't know if you know the story of Martin Guerre. There was a film, Summersby, made in around the sort of same time, late 90s, but it's about a guy, Martin Guerre, who is he's off at war and really kind of takes the opportunity to move his life away from the small town that he's been brought up in, and move on with his life away from that background. But he's in the trenches, well, perhaps not the trenches, but he's in the company of a guy, Arnaud de Thiel is the guy's name, and he's telling him all about his life in his hometown, and this guy Arnaud thinks, well, that's actually my idea of heaven. So he goes back to this town, not necessarily with the intention, but quickly people say, oh, gosh, it's good to see you, Martin, welcome back. And that deception becomes woven into many different strands, and obviously there's a not particularly brilliant ending, but the music I absolutely loved. I loved the production. And that song kind of takes you through all of that kind of starting phase to him arriving and being having his identity mistaken. So, yes, as soon as you said that was the song I knew I was going to pick.
Brilliant.
I really was sure I wanted to pick that song, but I thought I'll just listen to the wholesale track again, because I haven't listened to it for 10 years probably. Yeah. And thought I'll listen to it all the way through. And then Lisa was... Where have you been? Where have you been for the last hour and a half? I was like, I'm listening to this. It's amazing.
Fantastic. So let's get back to Dick Barton again. So Dick Barton, Secret Agent, is playing at the Gaiety Theatre from the
23rd to 25th of June.
It is indeed. I was looking at the wrong page. So the 23rd to the 25th of June. So tickets are obviously on sale now, which you can get from villagaiety.com or by ringing 600 555.
Thank you very much for having us.
Toby, Kim, thank you very much for joining me on the podcast.
You're listening to the Manx
We wish you all the very,
Theatre
very
podcast.
best for the show, and we'll speak to you again soon.
Wonderful. Thanks, Neil.
Thank you. The Isle of Man Arts Council is currently inviting funding applications for the 2022-23 financial year. Applicants are invited to apply for grants and underwriting which support personal and artistic development, equipment, workshops, performances and events. Every year, the Isle of Man Arts Council supports many individuals and organisations seeking to promote the arts within the local community. Funding encourages people to enjoy the arts, whether through attendance at or participation in events and activities. Applications should be submitted by Friday the 24th of June for consideration at an Arts Council meeting on the 8th of July. For further information, you can visit their website at iomarts.com. The All Ireland Theatre Company are holding open auditions on the evening of Sunday the 12th of June for Search for a Star 2022. This is a talent contest for all kinds of acts, individuals or groups aged 6 to 18. If you have any questions, you can contact the team at allirelandtheatrecompany@gmail.com. Tickets are also on sale for their production of Matilda Junior at the Balcomine Studio Theatre from the 10th to the 13th of August. Don't forget, this summer also brings us Tayloring Productions' production of 42nd Street at the Gaiety from the 6th to the 20th of August. This production will also be the first to have a live BSL sign language interpreter signing throughout the performance on Thursday the 18th of August. This is in addition to a relaxed performance structured specifically for people with learning disabilities on Tuesday the 9th of August and a caption performance on Tuesday the 16th of August. This will be the first of 6 Isle of Man Arts Council funded BSL interpreter performances at the Gaiety Theatre in the coming year. Later in August, Three Legs Productions bring Once to the Gaiety stage. Set on the streets of Dublin, an Irish musician and a Czech immigrant are drawn together by their shared love of music. Over the course of one fateful week, an unexpected friendship and collaboration quickly evolves into a powerful but complicated love story, underscored by emotionally charged music. Then in late September, Centre Stage Productions bring their production of Grease to the Gaiety stage. And then in Three Legs Productions are back with Moana Jr. in October. So it's shaping up to be quite a busy year. Well, with that, we bring episode 35 to a close. Thanks once again to Toby and Kim for joining me on the podcast. And we wish them and all at the service players all the very best for Dick Barton, Special Agent, which is running at the Gaiety Theatre from the 23rd to the 25th of June. If you haven't done so already, make sure to get your tickets now from villagaiety.com or by calling 600 555. Remember to like and follow our social media pages to get notifications of upcoming episodes and events. Don't forget to check out our Spotify playlist by searching for Manx Theatre Podcast, that's all one word, on Spotify. If you have any events that you'd like us to talk about or promote on a future episode, you can contact us through our social media accounts or by email to manxtheatrepodcast@gmail.com. All that remains is to say thanks for listening, and I hope you join me again next time on the Manx Theatre Podcast. I've been Neil Callin.
Man actors alive for me.